Does Joe Rogan have a chance in the octagon at 54? Joe Rogan is an expert UFC analyst, which is what he does when he isn't caught up with his numerous comedy shows. At 54, the former Fear Factor presenter still looks as good as ever and is in great shape to slug it out in the arena. But does he stand a chance in the octagon? Well, in this video, we intend to find out. Before we get into the details, kindly smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click on that bell icon so you never miss out on any of our upcoming videos. And with that out of the way, let's meet Joe Rogan. Rogan was born in Newark, New Jersey on August 11, 1967. He lived in Newark for a while until he was 7. At that point, his parents divorced, and together with his mother, he moved to San Francisco, California. When he was 11, the family moved again to Gainesville, Florida. They later settled in Newton Upper Falls, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. In his early teens, Rogan took a keen interest in martial arts. According to him, while growing up, he was already terrified of being called a loser. Taking part in martial arts gave him the confidence he needed to stand up for himself, and more importantly, showed him that he could excel in something like martial arts, which he was initially terrified of. He was just 14 when he started learning karate, and when he turned 15, he also took on taekwondo. Rogan took to taekwondo like fish to water, and he stuck with it for the next few years. By the time he turned 19, Rogan competed in and won the US Open Championship Taekwondo tournament, which he entered as a lightweight. Following this victory, Rogan became the full contact state champion for 4 consecutive years, after which he became a Taekwondo instructor. Taekwondo was not the only martial art that Rogan got involved in. He also took part in amateur kickboxing for a while, where he held a 2-1 record. Unfortunately, at age 21, Rogan had to put an end to competitive combat sports. This was because he began to suffer frequent headaches, and it became a concern for him. Out of fear that he may develop more serious injuries, Rogan decided to quit combat sports altogether and attend college. He enrolled at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, but quickly discovered that tertiary schooling was just not for him. After finding college utterly boring, Rogan dropped out of school to pursue other things. Before then, he had considered a career in kickboxing, but after giving up on combat sports because of health concerns, he decided to try his hands on something different: comedy. Although he wasn't considered a funny guy by his peers, Rogan decided to give comedy a try nonetheless. Before his first comedy show, he spent some 6 months preparing material and practicing his delivery. And in August 1988, he performed his first stand-up routine at an open mic night show at a comedy club in Boston. His debut comic act didn't go badly at all. And afterwards, Rogan started to consider a career in comedy. But unfortunately, doing comedy shows at night bars wasn't sufficient to pay the bills. So, while he was developing his comedy act in Boston, he did several other jobs, including teaching martial arts at Boston University, doing construction work, working with a private investigator, delivering newspapers, and even driving a limousine. Pretty much anything to make ends meet. It was a tough time for Rogan, but this was when he learned how to grind and hustle as an up-and-coming comedy act. In 1994, Rogan relocated to Los Angeles. Here, he signed an exclusive developmental deal with Disney. The deal allowed him to appear as an actor in a number of television shows. This included News Radio and Hardball. It was in 1997 that Rogan became acquainted with the UFC. He started working as an interviewer and a color commentator for the company. And since then, he has been in and around the UFC business. While still working with UFC on occasion, Joe Rogan signed a deal to become the host of the popular game show Fear Factor, which had people do insane and disgusting stuff to win a lucrative grand prize. The show made Rogan a popular face all over the country, but it was his comedy specials and the Joe Rogan Experience podcast that shot Rogan to superstardom. Nevertheless, being around UFC and combat sports, Rogan also created a reputation for himself as a very entertaining and knowledgeable UFC commentator. All along, he also kept himself in pretty good shape. Rogan is pretty buff, with huge biceps and nicely carved abs. He may be 54, but this guy is still in shape. Although it's been decades since Joe Rogan gave up on the idea of becoming a full-time professional combat fighter, he has remained open to the idea of being part of a celebrity UFC showdown. And true to his word, Rogan has tried to poke the bear in the past by challenging Hollywood star Wesley Snipes to a showdown. Of course, that has not taken place, yet. But if Joe Rogan gets a chance to slug it out in the octagon, how will he fare? To answer this, we'll try to analyze Rogan's fighting ability in the cage by judging him across these 4 fighting categories: fighting pedigree, physique, skill, and improvisation. Let's begin. Fighting pedigree. If you have ever listened to Rogan's UFC color commentary, then you know one thing. This dude is well-versed in combat sports.
At the end of that round, he was in deep shit.
He was hurt bad. It definitely was, Joe.
And this should come as no surprise, seeing as he was a 4-time Taekwondo US Open Championship winner. So in terms of fighting know-how, Rogan is covered. Also, don't forget that he was a martial arts teacher. That said, in the octagon, and at age 54, Rogan will obviously have to rely on his intelligence in the cage more than sheer physical ability. Physique. Like we said, considering his age, Joe Rogan is in great shape. However, he's not so tall, as he stands at an average height of 5 feet 6 inches, while also weighing 88 kilograms. So he might struggle against taller and heavier opposition, but he shouldn't do badly against fighters of similar physique. His muscular physique means he will demonstrate lots of explosive power and will more likely resort to grappling techniques to bring down his opponents. Skills. Skill-wise, we expect that Rogan should have his basic combat skills covered. Now, whether his body will be able to implement them effectively, we really can't say. We expect that, in the cage, Rogan will rely heavily on the intensity and power in his legs. Also, as a former kickboxer, the comedian should be adept at pulling off close-range melees to lure his opponents into submission holds. Improvisation. In addition to being a kickboxer, Rogan is also well-versed in jiu-jitsu. Combining that with his vast knowledge of MMA, this dude should be capable of stunning his opponents with unexpected moves while using his environment to his advantage. In summary, Rogan is not just very knowledgeable in MMA, but he is also in good shape. This means that he could wreak some havoc in the octagon if paired with fighters within his age bracket. Do you agree with our submission? Let's know what you think in the comments section. Thanks for watching till the end. We'll see you in the next video.